High Ground podcast. I'm excited because this week we are going to be diving into Latino slash Hispanic, Latinx. I don't know what the proper term is, so hopefully I'll find that out. But we'll be talking about that representation here in Star Wars right now on the high ground. Hello and welcome, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Hi guys.
Doing well.
Hello, hi.
Yeah, I'm super excited because for a lot of you, it's the first time I'm having you on. Kari, you are the only one that's coming back, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm happy to jump into something that's near and dear to my heart. You know, my wife is Mexican, first generation for American, but yeah, so the representation, it always is important. I always like to hear about it. So yeah, let's jump into it. And I want to start by asking, who are you? Where can we find your awesome content? And my first question is,
Sorry.
oh,
Sorry.
no, no worries, no worries. I'll put on some background music. You don't have
Okay.
to. If you can take any character from any franchise and put them in Star Wars, who would you pick? Or slash and if you could take any Star Wars character and put them in another franchise, who would you pick? And I will. I'll start with Jeff first.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was like, someone else will go first and then I can go. Great. Hi, my name is Otaku Jedi. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Even though I tweeted today about how old I am and I don't know how to use Twitter because I'm very archaic. I love anime. I love Star Wars. Clearly the name says that. And if I would take a character, I don't know if you guys watch anime, so but I guess I would take, I don't know, I feel like I would either take Naruto out of his universe and put him into Star Wars because I feel like his talk no jutsu would go very well with the council. Or I think I would take Luffy out of One Piece and put him into the Star Wars universe, mainly because he's all about everything that's fair and everything that's just, and he always does the right thing regardless of like he always stands up for what he believes in and always like backs his friends up, and it kind of gives you that like sense of like that Jedi feel, like you do what's right regardless of what's supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot. I have not gotten into One Piece yet. I tried to. It didn't stick with me. But I've been told that I need to give it another go. So I'll do that as well. How about you, Jedi Ninja?
I find me on YouTube, Instagram, all the things. Just I try to keep it simple.
Oh, your audio is kind of jumping in and out. Still, I thought we got it beforehand, but yeah, we'll have you. All right, let's go to Olivia. We'll come back to you. Okay.
Hi, I'm Olivia. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram, Olivia Lupe Marie. It's my username for both things. I think if I were to take a character, I think I would take Gandalf and I would put him into Star Wars, but particularly the High Council. I would love to see him talk to Obi-Wan and Yoda and just see how that conversation goes. Because I feel like they could align in a lot of ways, but then there might be some disagreements. And I think seeing him and Obi-Wan go head to head could be really funny.
That would be awesome. They're like, yeah, I would pay to see that conversation.
Yeah.
How am I sounding now?
I can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay on it, but go for it.
All right, cool. So I'm the Jedi Ninja. His name is Israel. So if you want to call me that instead of Jedi, because that works out well. But I'm the
Jedi. It is cutting in and out. Sorry, I thought we got that. I don't know if you have any wired headphones that you can try to put in.
I
that
think
might
it's my
work a little bit.
connection. Figure that out. Go ahead and move on, and I'll jump back out in a little.
All right, sounds good. I like a plan. And how about you, Kari? And also, everyone in the chat, let me know what your picks are for who you would put in Star Wars or who from Star Wars you would put elsewhere. But yeah, go ahead, start, Kari.
Hi everyone. Hi guys in the chat. I don't know how to write in the chat. I'm like so technologically bad, but hi guys. So you guys can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Star Wars Tia, like my name here, and I'm on Instagram as Kari Skywalker. And I would choose Hondo Anaka and put him in with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh crap! That's the best thing I've ever
brilliant.
heard in my
Perfect.
The
life.
payoff that they would freaking make, it would be hilarious. I would love to see them together. It would be so funny.
Oh, that would be amazing. Oh my
That would
god.
be so good.
That would be so cool.
Dang, that kind of just broke my mind with how cool it is. Well, for me, the one that I picked is I want to see Obi-Wan and Spider-Man together because I feel like they'd be so snarky and like sarcastic, like as a
Mhm.
group.
Okay.
So I think I'm taking Obi-Wan and putting him in the Marvel universe, dropping him into New York, and then they can like run and do things together. You know.
And the funny thing with that is that again, Obi-Wan has to deal with a younger person than him who's
Mhm.
also a smart ass, and he's gonna be like so annoyed and like, oh my god, another one. But they will complement each other so good because Spider-Man's gonna want to teach him everything about New York and stuff. So that
Yeah,
would be cool.
I almost feel like it would be he could help. It could help Obi-Wan get closure on Anakin because they're similar, but you know Peter
Mhm.
would make the right decisions,
Yes, he would. Yeah.
and then Obi-Wan taking Peter under like his wing can be like help him get some little closure and having another Uncle Ben. You know,
Mm.
It's poetry.
I think it
Oh
wraps
my
all around.
yes.
Just
Hey,
saying. Yeah, try again,
I'm
Israel.
gonna try and talk and see if this works. And I'm just gonna keep talking. We're gonna vamp in and out.
It's
based on your
it's
face.
it's in and out a lot. I'm sorry, man.
I don't like it. Okay.
It's in and out a little bit much for the stream, so we might have to bring you on another time. But yeah, if you do have anything
Go ahead
wild,
and
I
move
do
on.
want to give that a shot first. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Danielle said. Look what Danielle said.
I saw
like
that. That was.
Where is it? Let me see here.
Hunger Games.
I'd like to draw. Wow! Wow!
How am I
In the
sounding now?
Hunger Games? That's a
That is better. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump onto the question, and I would bring the.
No.
Oh no, it started again. I thought it was done.
Okay, I'm guys, and I thank you for the chance. And I'm frustrated, but I'm causing.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry.
another time.
Good.
No worries.
I'll be in the chat.
You're always welcome. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we have a Ben Solo and House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones, which is just it's too much. I don't know. I can handle that.
Yeah.
Him and Damon. That would be an interesting pair.
They would not like each other, or they would like
No.
each other
No.
too much.
Well, if it was Kylo Ren, that's one thing. But Ben Solo is like,
Ben
the,
Solo.
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
I think he would be like black. Like, what house would Ben Solo be in? Like Blackwood?
No.
Definitely not Stark. He's no. Baratheon,
I have to
maybe?
think about
The
that.
phrase, maybe.
I gotta say, I mean, it is a brilliant idea, though. Yeah, and shout out to Camilla, who, by the way, Beings of the Galaxy is dropping. Camilla's narrative podcast.
Yes.
Check it out. You might hear some familiar voices, but it's amazing. Definitely check it out. Let's see, Naira here. Like to see Avatar: The Last Airbender Aang in the Star Wars universe. I'd love to see Aang if you like put him in the future and like I want to see Aang talk to Rey, and because I think he would give her great like advice on being a Jedi despite not being one, because Air Temple people are kind of similar.
Yeah. I'd love to see a conversation with him and Ezra. I think they would get along pretty well.
Ooh, that'd be
Aang
really
and
cool.
Ezra, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, you have Maul in the Hunger Games. That,
but without force powers.
He's still a monster without him.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not even a competition there, and he's smart too. So like, yeah, that would be cool.
All right, sorry, Israel, but yeah, his answer was the Joker. And
okay.
Especially, I mean, as long as we don't give him force powers, that's what we.
Oh no,
absolutely not. We have Yoda in Rings of Power or the Lord of the Rings universe. Yeah. That would be really cool. Harley Quinn and Dr. Aphra.
Dr. Aphra. Oh my God, that would be a mess.
Yes.
Too.
That is the most chaotic thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
And I want it.
Chaos.
Harley Quinn would be so in love with Darth Vader because that's
easy. Yeah.
And Camilla is saying, "Can I take Padme out of the Star Wars universe so she survives?" Like literally anywhere but Star Wars.
Where would we put her though? I mean, she could live nice in like the second age of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's what she,
like with the elves. Now. She could live with the elves. Yeah.
That's
she deserves that.
She
deserves to live with the elves.
We're not going to take her out, but we'll put Jane Foster in, and she can protect her. We can do that.
Love that.
All right. Well, all right. Let's jump into it. I wanted to start by asking you guys, and by the way, I want this to be conversational, so feel free to jump out and and say whatever. But how did you guys become geeks? We're all into multiple fandoms. Like, where did all that come from? Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, I'll go first, I guess. So Kari and I actually talked about this a while ago. I don't know if you know, Olivia, what Super Campeones is. Okay, so you know what it is, right, Kari?
Yeah.
So when I was a kid,
it's Captain Tsubasa.
It's Captain Tsubasa. Yeah. It's a soccer anime, right? So I remember waking up every morning and like going to go eat breakfast, and every morning, I was always like, "Oh, can we watch cartoons?" And my tia was like, "No, here, watch this," and it was in Spanish, and I remember it. I was like, "Oh my God, what is this animation?" I'm like, there's these kids who were playing soccer, and I'm like, this is incredible. Now, keep in mind, it was all in Spanish, and the opening was just a banger. Let's just start with that. Yes. So like whatever, I'd go to school and I'd be like, "Yo, did you guys watch Super Campeones?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, what do you mean? The Super Campeones, like it's on TV. Like you don't watch it? So like I watched like the whole season, and like I was so like obsessed with it. And I really, really liked it. And the other thing that really got me into it got me into being a geek was Spider-Man. I grew up in Queens. I grew up in an apartment building. My aunt pretty much raised me. I liked a lot of nerdy things, and nobody really liked those things. So clearly, I would gravitate towards Peter. And that's kind of what like took me off on all of those things. And it was the normal difficulties of like being a dork and being a nerd and liking all of these amazing things that nobody cared about. Yeah. But like, you just kept going on, and it kind of helped because like after a while, Captain Tsubasa Super Campeones just kind of stopped playing on Univision. So I was just kind of like, all right. And then I just stuck with Spider-Man, and it just kind of went off after that. Like I found some friends in the apartment building that I lived in, and we started talking about that. Then we gravitated towards anime, and then Star Wars came into the picture, when the Super Nintendo Star Wars version of like the Return of the Jedi
The
came out.
hardest game of all
Yeah.
time.
Oh my! Do you remember trying to get through the Death Star? That thing was impossible, impossible. And so anyway, so I would, like we played that game, and that's kind of what got me into Star Wars. I was like, I gotta find out what this madness is, and like all of those just became one thing, and here I am, still churning along with all these things.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have Israel in the chat from New York and big Spider-Man fan as well. I never even thought about if you grew up in New York, it probably influenced that a lot. I was
Yeah.
also a massive Spider-Man fan. But yeah, how about you, Olivia?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I'm from Modesto, which is where George Lucas was born and raised. And so, like, if you live in Modesto, you're a Star Wars fan. It's kind of like inevitable, it's in our DNA, I guess. So, I went to the Revenge of the Sith premiere where George Lucas, so like he bought out the theater for everyone, so everyone in the hometown could see it. But my big thing that I really got into first are books. I'm a huge, huge book reader. I love sci-fi. I love fantasy. Lord of the Rings was one of the first high fantasy books that I read when I was like in 4th or 5th grade. And after that, I was sold. I like devour books all of the time. And it wasn't until the pandemic when I was rewatching all the Marvel films and all the Star Wars films with my dad that I was like, I want to know more about Star Wars. So I started picking up the comics. I started reading the books. I finally watched the Clone Wars for the first time. And after
Me
that,
too.
I was sold. Yeah, it was like the Clone Wars just like contextualized so much between episodes 2 and 3, and I was like, yes, I love when we get into the nitty gritty stuff. Like, show me the day to day of Star Wars. I love that world building and the politics of it, which is one reason why I love fantasy novels so much. So I've always been a nerd at heart, but now like living in our little corners in our little rooms during COVID, I was like, let me just like be the true nerd that I am. No one else can judge me, and now I get to share it on the internet, and I've made tons of friends from it, which was so different growing up. Just as a young woman who was a nerd was like not cool, but now it is, and girls and non-binary folks can show their nerdiness side, and I think it's an amazing thing. So I love it. I love being a nerd. I think it's so cool.
It's
right?
fun.
And
it's so much fun.
I love so much that and that's one of the reasons I asked, is because for certain people, like culturally or with your family, you might not be exposed to these certain things, but we carve out this little corner. And first of all, we've all gotten a lot weirder since COVID, which I think is wonderful. But we are all meeting people and making friendships based off of actual shared interests and not based off of proximity of like I sat next to this person for years in school, therefore we're friends. And I don't know, it's just really unique. But yeah, how about you, Kari?
Oh man, I've been a nerd since I can remember. My cousins, my older cousins, are all nerds. Like I have pictures of me and like this little when I was a baby, like months, and like Wonder Woman, costume when on Halloween, and all my cousins were like either Spider-Man or Superman, and stuff like that. And then like for one of the first things, one of my cousins was a huge Thundercats fan, so that was like one of my first, ones that I fell in love. And then when I was 8 years old, that same cousin was the one that he's a huge nerd. It was funny because he was a huge nerd, but he was also like very hood, like he was like from the streets,
as you have to be growing up in New York.
And he would come in with his friends all thugged out and stuff, like, all right. And then I remember he sat us down one night and he's like, all right, we're gonna watch Star Wars, nobody talk, this is what you're gonna watch. And then from that day on, I fell in love with Vader. I was like, that's it, he's the love of my life. And then I was also a huge Nintendo head. Like I was the first one on my block to get an NES. I was the first one to get a Game Boy. Every day after school, it was me and my best friend. He lived in the same building, so it was us every day playing Nintendo. That was our life. We played every single day. And then from there it was just all the time, going to go see all the movies and stuff whenever we could. My family was very big on that, doing all that stuff together. And then I grew up and I was still a fan, but I wasn't involved as much like in the fandom until COVID. I hadn't before COVID. I hadn't seen any of the animated clone Star Wars stuff, and then I was like, I got time now because
That's
my
right.
job closed. So
Yeah.
I was like, let me do a Mandalorian. Actually, got me to watch everything because everybody was talking about some character Ahsoka. I'm like, I don't know who that is. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a whole rewatch. That way, I'm ready for when the Mandalorian comes out. And 2 weeks, Clone Wars, bam. 1 week, Rebels, down, and I was
Dang.
in love. Yeah,
That's intense. Yeah.
I mean, I was all day, the whole day, literally from morning to night, just watching all of the episodes, and then now you have me on TikTok with all you guys.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Israel here started with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was my jam.
Oh yeah,
Transformers,
hell
Voltron,
yeah.
and then also the Nintendo was my thing. Um, remember when like you get a game and like you just never beat that game? Like you didn't know anyone who's ever beaten the game because that was just normal. You rent a game, you play as far as you can, and you just have to
Which
like
game?
put it back.
Which game?
That's just
Oh
how
Yeah.
no, Teenage
Nintendo
Mutant Ninja
was.
Turtles was the bane of my existence, but I passed it eventually. It took me like I don't know how long, but oh my god, that was like the most headache game for me. It was nuts, but
For
it was
me,
awesome.
Lion King on Sega Genesis.
Oh my God.
Really?
I
Yes.
I am so mad because I never actually beat the game because I didn't know you had to throw Scar off.
Yes.
And I fought him for like hours. And I was like, how do I win?
Why won't
What
you
is-
die?
It's just the most frustrating ever.
Yeah.
You know something? Aladdin on the 64 was kind of hard
Oh.
for me. Thankfully,
Yeah.
I got all the cheat codes, and that helped
Oh.
me out. And then I remember, and then one of my favorite games is Double Dragon. And I
Mhm.
remember one time, I don't know what happened. It glitched, and I got unlimited amount of lives. Like, so I stood for like 5 hours playing because once I turned it off, it was gonna go away. But I was just five,
Mhm.
never dying, never dying, never dying. So that was cool.
I do remember that too, where you just had to leave it on, like don't touch this, and then your mom would touch it and then would turn it off, and you're just like, listen, I'm leaving
Yeah,
this
my mom
family.
threw away my NES, by the way, and it still works.
All right. Well, let's really quickly. I want to do a quick lightning round and ask you guys. I want to get your list of your top 3 Star Wars films, and then also, what are you most excited for that came out of the D23 announcements? All right. So quick
I'm
lightning
not going
round.
first this time.
Kari. Kari's going first.
Okay, all right. So top 3 favorite movies: Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back. But that changes with Rogue One, depending on the day. And from D23, oh man, when I saw the Tales of the Jedi, I literally started tearing up. It was just beautiful. I mean, that animation is just so amazing, that Clone Wars style, and just the story that we're gonna get. Oh my God, it's something that I guess we don't have a book that tells us that like what happened with Doku and stuff that is canon. I mean, right? So I'm excited for that, and of course the Little Mermaid. I mean, you guys have seen the freaking TikTok. I'm already turned. I when I heard her sing, I lost it. And then seeing all the little kids of the little girls,
Yeah.
the little black girls that are just like
Yeah.
reacting to it. So those are, I think, my 2 of my most expected like big ones. Of course, the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we already know that.
Scrolling through TikTok the day after the announcements was like such a mixed bag because you're like, oh, so adorable racism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adorable races. Adorable races. Oh,
It
Yeah.
just bounces.
Yeah.
How about you, Olivia?
Rogue One is number 1. It always has been. I think it always will be. And then Empire's number 2. And right now, this keeps fluctuating. It's either Revenge of the Sith or The Phantom Menace. And I want to say Phantom Menace is number 3 right now. I know that's wildly unpopular, but like, I love Qui-Gon. I love Qui-Gon. So that means Tales of the Jedi is the thing I'm most excited
Absolutely.
for. Like young Dooku, love young Dooku, and young Qui-Gon, I can't wait. Like I read Dooku Jedi Lost a couple months ago, and it's just like the audiobook one is incredible, but it blew my mind just learning about Dooku's story and how tragic it is. So now I'm a
Mhm.
Dooku apologist. So yeah, I'm so excited for Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, it's if you haven't read Dooku Jedi Lost, everyone read it. It's
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I know.
Definitely
Yes.
read it before the show comes out, because I
Yeah.
wonder if they'll tie things in at all.
I'm sure they will. And then Liam Neeson loving Star Wars so much, like he's gonna come back and be his own voice again.
And his
Slash
Yeah.
son, like that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Fun. Yeah.
No, and then plus Dooku sounding like Snape. I'm in.
It's cold.
So, Yaddle, how could I forget my girl? Yes.
Oh,
Yaddle
that's right.
supremacy. Sean.
Yeah, I can't. I'm terrified to see it because
Yeah.
that's the furthest in the timeline that we see her, which means something bad might happen. But not gonna put that out there. Not gonna put that in the universe.
No.
Let's go ahead.
So let's see. Number one, Empire. It's always been Empire for me. I absolutely love it. Number two, controversial, is actually the Phantom Menace. I
Yes.
I saw the Phantom Menace in theaters. I got on the news because of the Phantom Menace, okay, because I was at that midnight showing. And let me tell you, seeing it in the big screen and seeing those doors open up and Maul just lifting his head up, and then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then this man just busts out a double lightsaber. The whole theater was like, oh,
You can do
what? And the score, like the choreography, like
so
it's beautifully done. I don't care what anybody says. Like that to me is one of the best Star Wars movies. Like I know Jar Jar, I know this, I get it. But like as a whole, I thought it has a special place in my heart. And then three, it's always a toss up. Like it depends on the day. Sometimes it's Rogue One. Sometimes it's Revenge of the Sith. The Force Awakens creeps in there sometimes because it like got me hype again, after so many years of not having anything Star Wars.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, it's definitely those, but the Phantom Menace is always going to be number two. To be honest, what I'm most excited about, yes, I'm excited for Tales of the Jedi. Like I'm super hype about that. Like I want to see Ahsoka's story, I want to see Dooku's story, but I'm super excited for the Bad Batch, and I feel like nobody gives it enough credit. I love the Bad Batch for two reasons. One, I love anything that has to do with the clones. Like I love their story. I love everything that has to do with their humanity and everything like that. But on top of that, I have a daughter who also loves Star Wars, and we watched the Bad Batch together. So like when she saw Omega, she was like, "Daddy, who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Omega. She's like them. She's a clone." And she just loved it. And then I showed her the season 2 trailer, and she lost her shit. She was like, "Daddy, when is this coming out?" And I was like, I think it comes out in October." She goes, "We have to watch this." I'm like, "Yes, yes, we do." So I'm super, super hyped for that. And also, yes, Gungi lives.
Gungi.
Oh my God, my baby boy Gungi. Yes.
Shout out.
I'm nervous for Cody though. A little nervous for Cody.
Yeah.
You think Cody got it removed, the chip? He had to, right? Because it looks like he's rogue, maybe.
I don't think so.
I
Because in the trailer,
this is
he's
why we're
talking to
manifesting,
Crosshair, right? He's talking to Crosshair, and he's just kind of like they're just conversing about things. I don't know. Maybe he did, and he just, or maybe like Crosshair told him about it. Then they he's gonna. I don't know. I want to know.
Yeah.
No, definitely
Same.
waiting for that for sure. Yes.
Yeah, for Israel, he's got Rogue One, Empire, The Force Awakens, and for myself, it's the Last Jedi, Empire, and then Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I love that.
Major Luke stan here.
Yeah.
But I do get the Phantom Menace hype. Like I remember downloading the first trailer on my computer, and it was like this big, and you just watch it over and over again, and it was just a ship coming down the hill. Yeah, no, I remember those days. Um,
Yes, Camila, Papi Hauser. Is he safe? Yes, I need Papi Hauser.
Coffee House.
He's our Dominican clone. That's honorary Dominican.
House.
With that fade? What? Have
Oh,
you
that's
seen that
true.
haircut?
That's true.
It's so true. Oh my god.
If he comes on screen and says "que lo que," then you know it's over.
That's what I want from Andor. If we get that, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Um, all right, well then we'll. I mean, that's the perfect segue in. But I do also want to start it with one last lightning round question, and that's kill, bang, marry, Din, Poe, Cassian.
You guys want me to go first? I
Yes.
guess I'll go first. Okay.
You can go first. Yeah.
Think about this.
This is. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. I feel like
The Three
I would
Kings.
kill Poe. I know. I would kill. Look at your face. Oh my god. I think I just broke Olivia's heart. I would kill Poe. Okay.
Poor Poe.
I would bang Cassian. I was like, Diego Luna. I mean, come on. All right. And then marry Din, because like he's the dad, takes care of people. We all just want to be loved and taken care of.
I love it. Olivia doesn't approve. So what's yours, Olivia?
Mine is controversial. I'm gonna make some of my friends mad, but that's okay. I would marry Cassian because Cassian Andor is the love of my life. I would bang Poe Dameron, and then I would kill Din Djarin. Sorry to all the Din Djarin girlies. You guys, more for them. I love him, but those other two are just like, I love them so much.
All right. Last but not least, Kari.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my bang first. I'm banging Poe because Poe's a hoe. He's a hoe. We love him though. I would kill Din. I just love Cassian more. Oh my god,
that's surprising.
Wow.
So
I
surprised.
would totally marry Cassian. I love him. He's just, I love a bad boy, but as also like I know he would be also a good person to be with as a partner. So yeah, but then I'm sorry.
Sorry, Din.
Oh.
Yes.
He's
Not for
a good
anything,
bad
just because of
boy. I mean, and you're getting some support. As Israel in the chat, he's supporting you as well. Dang. You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Mary Din, because he seems the most stable.
He does have a good job. He's not out running, about to get
That's true.
killed.
He's stable, responsible. I'm banging Poe because he's a hoe. And get rid of Cassian.
R.I.P. Cass.
R.I.P. Cass.
For real. Don't worry,
You know,
Cassian. I still have
like,
you.
I'm turning
I got
Poe into a house husband.
All right.
Poe Dameron would be a good house husband. I could see it. Yeah, he would.
He's definitely with the apron cooking and stuff, trying to make sure that.
Yes.
And which is the perfect segue to the actual representation, because if he's cooking up things, I regret that they decided that he's cooking up spice. I feel like that was a poor choice.
Yeah.
But
if Cassian Andor is a spice runner, then we'll be like, all right, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut it
no,
down.
they better not do that. I hope not.
He's got like an adobo on his, like the logo right here on his coat, just embroidered on there.
But yeah, I mean, so how do you feel like they've traditionally done with the representation, and how are they doing now? And anyone can jump out and start.
I think they've made some questionable choices in the past. Phantom Menace is a good example of that. But I feel like they're starting to do better. And I think where the progress is really starting to happen is in the written material, in the books and the comics. And I'm excited to see how they decide to progress on screen in the films and the TV shows. And I think that Andor has a real potential to start that, to kickstart it, So I have high hopes, of course, taking everything with a grain of salt, because you never know. We thought, Poe Dameron as a spice runner was an unfortunate choice, but maybe they'll continue to learn from their mistakes and do better. At least that's my hope.
Mm-hmm.
I think because they did the same thing with the Martez sisters.
Yeah.
Them
Mhm.
also being spice runners, and but I guess, see, bothers me more because of who his parents are. Because from what I've read, his parents are more like, uh, they were pilots and stuff, right? They were like, very recognizable
Yeah.
names and everything. So he really didn't have a reason to follow a different path, especially that path.
Mhm.
The Martez sisters I kind of understand a little bit more because they grew up without parents, poor, having to struggle, having to like fend for themselves and stuff. So I can kind of see why it took the turn that way. And then having to do that to enable in order to survive, especially being that they're living in the in the bottom of Coruscant and everything. So it's not that many opportunities. But I think with Cassian, I think hopefully, yeah, like Olivia said, with a grain of salt. But I think we're gonna get a much better story of maybe. Well, he did say in the movie, right, that he had to do like questionable things before he actually joined your rebellion, right? So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. But I like that at least we're getting that representation. We're getting more names out there. We have Rosario Dawson now. We have, obviously Pedro Pascal. That's a great uh, you know, character to have, that he's not involved in anything like, that would be very stereotypical and stuff. He's just out there making his money and being a good dad. Like, that's good, you know. But yeah, I have my hopes for Andor, hopefully, with that. Hmm.
I agree. I agree with basically everything that you guys said. Uh, I don't think that the representation had been there, and then they were like slowly getting into it, and like when I watched Star Wars for the first time, there was nobody that like I gravitated to, and the only person that I really gravitated to was, I guess, like Han, because he wasn't like everybody else. He
Yeah.
was like his own dude who just kind of did his own thing and kind of was just like, he was the outsider in the whole thing. And now, like, you can see, just like you said, Kari, they have Rosario, they have Pedro. But even then, like, I feel like Diego Luna is a much better representation, and because, like, I don't know, it's weird because when I hear someone who's an actor and has an accent, I'm like, oh, where are you from? Like, instantly, I am like just pulled into that person. No matter what the character is, I'm like, where are you from? What, like, I do my research and I'm like, okay, let me find out more about you. So Diego obviously has that. They didn't try to like hide his accent or anything like that. And I know that Pedro doesn't really have one, and Rosario definitely doesn't have one, but like, they
Mhm.
still represent us. It's just, I feel like Diego, for me at least, like, I look at him and I'm like, all right, like, if I were to be someone in Star Wars, it would probably be you, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing a much better job, and just like both of you, I'm very curious to see what direction they're going to take this.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of potential too, because, unlike Ahsoka, who has a ton of material that we can look back on, Cassie's kind of a blank slate. We know a little bit about him from the movie. He has one comic, and then there's the Rogue One novelization, but everything else is fair game. So they can really take their time and really delve into this character. And I wonder how much, say, Diego Luna had in developing this character, and if he decides to draw on any Latin American or even indigenous influences. So I think that there's a lot of potential, and I hope that they took advantage of that potential, because to see Latin representation in Star Wars, not just the actors, but actually, possibly the language, the culture, heritage, could be really exciting. And I think that would have meant a lot to me as a kid, and I know it would have meant a lot to my family. So I think of all of the other little kids that are going to be introduced to Star Wars, maybe not with Andor, that might be a little too mature for them, but like it would still be. I just remember in 2016 when I went and saw Rogue One, and this was a time when anti-Mexican rhetoric was really strong in the United States, and there was a Mexican man leading Star Wars. That was like a really interesting dichotomy to exist in at that time. But it meant so much to me, and I know it meant so much to my family. It meant so much to my dad, who grew up with Star Wars, with the original trilogy. I mean, he still talks about seeing the jump to light speed the first time. I mean, it's just like, so I think that they have so much potential, and I think that they should take advantage of it. And I have high hopes, because Diego Luna, from what I can tell, following his career, he takes his culture, he takes his community into every project he does. So I'm very excited. Very excited.
Me too. And another thing is that, like what Livia mentioned about seeing representation from Latin America or indigenous stuff in the show, because I mean, Star Wars has taken from a lot of different cultures, like Japanese culture and others. So it wouldn't be that far off if they also do the same thing, with any Latin American or indigenous things that we might see. And I don't know if you guys know, on Second Thought on TikTok, he's in Australia. He also said like that, imagine like we get to hear him talk Spanish or some variation of Spanish, or and I even said maybe like some type of indigenous type of language that they created based on the indigenous languages from Latin America. I mean, that would just be so amazing. And very, very, very personal for us, because we don't, obviously that would be the first time we ever see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me think of in the book of Boba Fett, we got to see some influences when it came to the culture surrounding the Tuscans.
And where that, like he wanted to make sure that was included.
Yeah. And Camilla says, Star Wars has always been such a great way to explore what's going on IRL. I love that Andor with Diego is going to explore the immigrant experience themes, so that hits home. I never even considered that. That's really
absolutely.
Yeah, his whole family, from what we know, was displaced by the Clone Wars. And that's a prominent story in a lot of our lives and a lot of our communities' lives. Migration and immigration, and I wonder if that was a conscious choice for Diego Luna when he was like, well, I know this happens to my character during the Clone Wars, so let's take it a step further and explore this. Because when you think about the Latina, experience, I don't think you can ignore immigration and migration.
Yeah.
And then especially the displacement thing, I think is gonna hit very hard for many of us. We've seen what's going on with Central America, having, with those caravans because of stuff that's going on, that they have to leave. In Colombia, like what you saw in Encanto, that, displacement because of the violence in their own towns. They've had to leave their towns and everything, like, and that's something that many of us have had to, our families who are around for that have had to experience that. So I think seeing that in Star Wars and the way they're going to handle that is going to be very personal and very, very touching for many of us, for sure.
Yeah. Have Galactic Mermaid in the chat says, Pedro wears a helmet all the time. Rosario is an alien. Yes, it counts, but I love that we're starting to actually see them. And so,
I made there was I think, Kari, I think you might have sent it to me, where there was when they were going over the Vogue shoot of and like they had Ewan and Rosario and Diego, and I showed my daughter, and I was like, Mira, mija, this is like, they speak Spanish like you do. And she's like, what? And then she pointed at Obi-Wan and she was like, he speaks. I was like, no, not Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan doesn't speak Spanish. So then she was like, she said to me, she was like, "Oh, I, I love Star Wars," and she goes, "Can I make a TikTok?" And I was like, "Sure." And I have it as friends only.
Yes.
And I don't,
Yes.
do you remember seeing that?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
She was like, "Dear Star Wars," like to the thing. She was like, "I love you, Star Wars. Thank you for being the best Star Wars. Thank you for like loving me." Like she was 4 at the time. She was like, "Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being amazing." And like she just like promoted them for and the only thing I said to her was, baby, these like the person who plays Mando, the person that plays Ahsoka, and this guy, because she hasn't seen Rogue One. Yeah, I'm not gonna show her Rogue One because I don't want her to see
yeah. Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But she said, I was like, they all speak Spanish, baby. They're like you. They're Hispana, and she's like, oh my god, and like it took her back to actually because like we had just seen the sequels, and like she loves Rey, she loves Ahsoka, but the fact that like someone who she can like feel connected to based on the fact that they just speak Spanish, like as Ahsoka, it meant so much to like me, and like just seeing her actually genuinely tell the camera to this video, that she loved Star Wars. It was just like huge because if she's 4 at the time, she's 5 now. If she's 4 and could express that, imagine what it's like for us as adults who have never had that kind of thing to just like
Yeah.
gravitate to that. And I think you said it, Olivia, or yeah, I think you said it, where like it incorporated our families as well. And I remember like trying to talk to Star Wars to my family, and they were like, no, 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 estoy viendo Maria Mercedes, or I'm watching Carrusel, don't talk to me right now, so like having something like that to even drive them, and being like, look, that's us. They're
Mhm.
talking about us. Like this is it's huge. It's huge, and it's very moving, and it's very
Yeah.
powerful.
It's speaking to our inner kids that we didn't have much of that growing up.
Yep.
You know, that, oh, now my little kid, look, like my inner child gets to see themselves represented in something that they love so much.
Hmm.
That's that's beautiful. Naira makes it clear though, Obi is still invited to the
Oh yeah.
asada.
Oh yeah, you were invited to
Always.
the carne asada all
Always.
day, all day.
Oh,
Always.
um, and Israel brings out, it's crazy because Latinx people come in all complexions, and that's something
Mhm.
I wanted to point out because something see uh, is a lot of times people forget that you could be as dark as myself or darker and still Latino, and you
Mhm.
can be both. People come in all shades. So yeah, I've had people who's like, well, Ahsoka doesn't count because she's black, or the exact opposite, and you're like, that's not how it works, man.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
My best friend is Dominican, and he is an Afro Latino. And as a teacher, because I also teach Spanish, um I teach in the inner city, and like we all do come in all shapes and sizes. I had, like, I think 3 years ago there was a student, and I looked at her last name, and I said it like the way it's supposed to be said, and she looked at me and she was like, "You know how to say my last name?" I was like, "Of course I do, I speak Spanish." And then she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Hablas español?" And she was like, "Yeah." And her friends in that same classroom looked at her and they were like, "You speak Spanish?" Like they were so blown away at the fact that they've known this person for literally ever and didn't know that she like spoke Spanish. And it's
Mhm.
crazy because we do come in all shapes and sizes and colors and everything like that. Like my dad is infinitely darker than I am, and my mom could like as white as a ghost,
Yeah.
and I'm a product of that. And like I'm assuming that everyone in chat and everyone here grew up among a slew of different people. So like, you know to us, if you're Cuban or Argentinian or Chilean or whatever, Dominican, you still speak the same language. You have something in common right there, and you just like you branch out from all of those
Yeah.
things.
And that's the thing. I think one of the things that we have to consider, being like first, second generation in the United States, with the people that aren't Latinos, because if we go back to our our original like the motherlands, anywhere in Central South America, Mexico, we know that all this diversity exists, right? I mean, we see them,
Hmm.
they're part of our families, our friends and stuff. But like when it comes to here, United States, like how many times I've had people like that were born that are not of the Latino community, like I would say that, oh, I didn't know that you guys had black people in Colombia. I'm like, yeah, of course we do. I remember I was with a guy and we were watching a soccer game. It was Colombia against, I don't remember who it was, and a lot of the most of the players there are black, and he was like, oh, I didn't even know that was Colombia because there's a lot of black people playing, a lot of black. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, I thought everybody mostly looked like you. Like when I hear Colombia, it's like all lighter skinned people. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, I was I went into a whole historical explanation of why he was wrong for saying that. But it is just, I think a lot of our education here doesn't really convey this idea so much, and which is why a lot of the racism, not only in the Latino community but from outside, comes
Hmm.
regarding Afro Latinos and denying their Latinidad. And the
Yeah.
same thing for indigenous people as well. The same thing. So, because everybody, and then especially here in the United States, when they see the telenovelas, the soap operas,
Hmm.
it's always been white
Yep.
people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Majority is just white people.
It's like in Carusel. What was his name? Cirilo.
Cirilo, yes.
If you don't know, if you're not as old as me and Kari are, Carusel is a soap opera
Of little
about
kids. It
of
was a
these
little
little
kid
kids
soap
in a
opera.
school, right? And Cirilo was an Afro
like
Latino. It was in
like
Mexico,
Degrassi.
right?
Like
No, they were
Degrassi.
even kids. It was elementary school. This
Yeah,
was
it was
happening in
elementary
elementary
school.
school.
Yeah.
Like,
So like Cirilo loved this. What was the name of the girl that he loved? He loved somebody. I forget her name.
And she was blonde, blue eyes, super
Yep.
white.
Yep. And but she was in a relationship with like the super rich kid who had like like one of those Power Wheel cars. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
Oh, I
It
remember
was a long
that.
time ago.
Yes.
But that was a perfect example because Cirilo was Afro Latino. He was poor. He was not the type of person you wanted to be with, and like he was so in so good and nice. Meanwhile, this other kid was like a jerk to her and everything like that, and like it's it's interesting that not we, because we know, but like the rest of the world doesn't see that. And not to get off topic, but like Miles Morales, perfect example. You know, everyone like Miles is Afro Latino, and a lot of the Hispanic community, the Latinx community, does not accept him because of that. And it's like, no, like he is. His mother's
Hmm.
Puerto Rican. She speaks Spanish. Like in the comics, he speaks Spanish as well.
Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah, we have one creator in particular that is very, very
What?
tough.
No, no.
He
But yeah,
has me blocked, so I can't even say
Uh,
nothing.
but it is like Camilla says, it's all different kinds of influences. Like it's not a monolith of a culture.
Hmm.
I'm like I said, my wife is Mexican. Her mom's side comes from Jalisco, where everyone is really fair
Very
skinned.
white.
Her dad's side is very indigenous
Hmm.
and dark, and like her mom's side of the family doesn't like them. Doesn't
Right.
like them. But that's a whole different topic. There's uh, but it's so, like you said, there's it's so vibrant, and I even making this, it felt weird putting it all under one umbrella.
Hmm.
But I it's, I don't know, there's so much there,
Yeah,
and
it's so
so
different because
perhaps.
even like the same thing that we have. Well, the United States is huge, so there's gonna be
mhm,
subcultures in the country, but it's the same way in any country in Latin America. When you go to
Yeah.
the coast of one of the countries, it's gonna be very different than inland, or on the other side of the other coast of the country. It's very different culturally, food wise, the way they speak, their mannerisms and everything is very different.
mhm.
So yes, it is very hard to try to put everything under one umbrella because we all have all these different things, even in our specific culture and stuff.
Mhm.
But like I think when it comes to Latin, because I don't want to say indigenous, because indigenous is their
Mhm.
own thing, when it comes to Latin America and stuff. But us having the language that having that Spanish language in common is the biggest common denominator, that at least in that way we can relate to each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we get a lot of agreement in the chat. Galactic Mermaids, it is, the amount of I've seen. How are you Brazilian? You're white.
Mhm.
And Barry
Mhm.
here in the chat says same thing. She's Mexican.
Yeah.
Daniel says, love that about Encanto. It showed a vast array of Latinx people within the same family.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
which is really cool. And then Pep said Filipinos either look super Chinese or super Mexican, so no one knows how to spot us.
We have the same colonizer. There's this really funny TikTok going around of a Filipino woman saying, like, looking at across the store and asking, is this person Hispanic? Are they Latino? Or are they Filipino? It's like, what's your last name? How many cousins do you have? And there's like, you can't tell. It's like, oh, we have the same colonizer. So that's so funny.
Well, and that kind of brings to the next question. So why does it matter? I mean, technically, there's no Latin America in Star Wars. So, why does it matter?
Whew.
I think it matters for a lot of reasons.
Mhm.
One
And
thing
I'm
I
not
think
saying it
about,
doesn't matter. I just want you guys to express it.
No,
just
No,
so you know.
Yeah, no,
Just so
I
you
got
know.
it. The question.
no, of course not. But it's something that I ask myself all the time because I get all up in arms about it. And I'm like, why do I care so much? And I think about second worlds in fantasy. So fantasy worlds inspired by other cultures, other mythologies. You look at Game of Thrones, which is War of the Roses, English, history. And then you look at fantasy right now, and we're seeing a lot of fantasy inspired by African cultures as well as Asian cultures. But there's a lot missing when it comes to Latino cultures, particularly those of indigenous descent as well. And I think that Star Wars has this really, again, unique opportunity with Cassian Andor, where it's led by a Mexican man who is proudly Mexican, who is a producer on the show, and it's a character with not a lot of backstory. So it would be, I think, a really fresh change for Star Wars, but also within the world. It just wouldn't be out of left field. I think it would really make sense to draw upon different Latin American cultures and, hopefully the Spanish language. I think that would just be the coolest thing if he comes out and his language sounds a little bit like Spanish. I think that'd be amazing. And I think, we look at what happened with Little Mermaid. I don't even want to talk about the negative. We talk about the positive and all of these Black children and even non-Black children who are seeing this beautiful, amazing singer play Ariel. And they feel such joy. They feel such representation. They feel seen. They feel inspired. And I think Star Wars has the same effect. It had the same effect on me when I was a little kid, and I look nothing like Padme Amidala, So for someone to look or sound like Cassian Andor and to see him and to see the other characters who are also Latino in this show can have such a profound impact. And I think that can really inspire and change a generation. And that's what the Star Wars is for. It's for the next generation of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're right, and I was gonna mention the Little Mermaid, because just like Kari said at the beginning, that video that you duetted, that video is Bail Organa,
The OG.
The OG.
He dubbed it for us. That video in itself just proves why it's important. Like the sheer shock and joy and tears and just like disbelief that they had that I mean, the video says it itself. She's like me. Like that. I think the one that gave me chills was that girl that was like in her blanket and she was like, "Mama, she's Black." Like she was so genuinely like just in such a disbelief that she it's like she had an out of body experience, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like many have commented in the chat like Encanto is great because like before that, you know, we had what, Coco, great, Wonder, Another Day of the Dead, like it's nice, it's great, it's a wonderful movie, I love it.
Mhm.
Then we had The Book of Life, okay, wonderful, but like Encanto really captured a lot of it. Like I watched that movie and I was like, oh, I remember that. Oh, that happened to me. Oh yeah. Oh no, that happens. And like people, you know, like people looked at it and they were like, oh, it was a good movie. I'm like, did you not understand like the movie? Did you not get it? And you know, like um the family members and themselves, La Abuela, and how she's like because we know what it's like to live in a Hispanic family where you know like the hierarchy is what it is and you don't say anything, and I think Mirabel captured everything that we what we wanted to
Well, we
say.
wish we could have
No, what you
said.
want to say? We all related to Mirabel, where you know she's like exactly. See, Danielle knows. We all did. Like it's that emotional trauma that we go through.
Mhm.
And but like representation does, it matters, it's huge on top of the fact that like Miss Marvel is a perfect example. I know nothing about any of that, but just hearing
I
the
had never
dad,
heard of the partition. I
dude, me
never heard
neither,
of it.
but like hearing the mom and the dad call their daughter Bitta, it made a huge difference. It's like when I hear mijo or mija in like any
Mhm.
kind of
Yes.
show, I'm like, oh
Yes.
my god, I understand that reference. I felt like Captain America. I'm like, I get that reference, you know. But like it mattered. It really does matter because it, you just feel more connected to the show. You feel like it's talking to you,
Mhm. You
and
feel at home with it.
yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then,
And that's because the thing is that with like like again, growing up, we've had to connect to these characters that are not Latinos, and and we did that. We were able to
Mhm.
relate to them. You know, we found something to be able to relate with them. You know, like for example, with Padme, we relate of I want to be a strong woman like her. You know, I want to be somebody that fights for what's right and stuff. Uh, but that's just in general terms. You know, culturally, obviously, I can't relate to her because we don't have anything like that in common. And I think that they when this finally happens that we could be like, oh, cool, that actor is playing it, and I'm not excited just because he's Latino, but just because I like the person, because that's how a lot of white people react to characters. They don't have to be
Yeah.
like, oh my god, he's white. Oh, it's just like me, like I don't think they've ever gone through something like that. That, oh my god, he's white, just like me. Like they've never had to feel that. They've never had to go through the same things that a black person has, like a Latino person, any other person of color, any indigenous person, because they've always seen themselves represented. So it's like a normal for them. And that's
Yeah.
what I wish, that we get to that point that it's so normal that we don't have to be like, oh my God, some another Latino finally,
Mhm.
I love how it's put here by Beings of the Galaxy, Camilla, or probably Camilla. um, I, I love that people who aren't Latino get a chance to relate to Latinos the way we've been relating to people who aren't,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's a really big thing because it's not like they have to be the same race as you for you to relate, but
Yeah.
I've related to all sorts of people of all different colors or even aliens. Like Piccolo's my dude. um
He, he he is. He's the true
He's
dad of the
listen.
show.
He is.
you know
From what I hear, he is.
Let's
uh
be serious.
but um it just normalizes. And I feel like some of the negative conversation around this is people thinking
It's Jedi.
people of color are being inserted into these things, but it's the
Yeah.
exact opposite. We were historically excluded, and now
Mhm.
that barrier is no longer there, it's natural. Like it's only natural that you would have. How big is the galaxy? Is everyone gonna have a British accent? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. Why does everybody have the same accent? Like it makes no sense. It makes no
uh,
sense. And then
but
anybody complaining that they're gonna see different, like you're okay with seeing aliens, different types of million types of
I know.
aliens.
Yeah.
But once you see a person of color, a black person, is that's the problem.
It's bad.
It
Yeah.
can't happen. It's weird.
Words can exist, but they can't be black.
you,
What?
it, something that does have me thinking now is Danielle brings up Leia's hair buns were inspired by Mexican revolutionaries,
Yeah.
which is true. I've seen that that talked about before. And Bale is Hispanic. I wonder if like we can trace that to like Alderanian culture and like he taught her or he did that on purpose. I don't know. I think
We're
that
claiming
Love
it.
that.
That's it. Yes,
That's a
we are
great
claiming that.
Great
That's
headcanon. Yes.
canon. We're dubbing that canon
It's
right
just
now.
that's
It's
just canon.
canon.
It's like Poppy Hauser is Dominican. That's it.
Yep.
It's like we claimed
Coffee
it.
hour.
yeah, like this has been amazing. Like there's so many things I just never considered because I can only see it through my lens. But even when we're looking at comparing things or struggles for different races, it's still not ever going to be a one-to-one. But for me, what you guys were explaining is something that I felt. I nearly cried over a commercial for Black Panther, and it was just kids playing with toys, but there was like a little white kid playing with Black Panther toys, and like I just never seen that before. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was just weird, but um yeah, that's just I don't know, that's just really cool. Well, so what do you think is the end goal of all of this? Where should we be trying to get?
I'm. I think. I think the end goal should just be like not being ignorant and not being so close-minded to the fact that like it's just about you. You know what I mean? If you pick up what I'm putting down, I think like you go to the workplace and you see a whole bunch of different people. You go to the supermarket and you see a whole bunch of different people. Why is it so hard to believe that like just like you said, Chaco, people are not really being inserted, they're just like coming back to what they should have like already been in there in the first place. And I think it's the end goal should just be like um it sounds very stupid and very cliche, but like to just include everybody and have that open mind where you're just like, oh, this is the norm.
That's the norm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The norm shouldn't be, oh, we're adding one specific type of person. We're adding this specific type of person to this movie, just because it fits the if it's the story or if it's the mold or whatever you want to say. It should just be like, oh yeah, that's normal, but somehow along the way we've lost track of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
No more tokenism, like
Yes.
the things that we watch should reflect the world that we live in. And even just people on this call, like we're all from different walks of life. And that's what makes this conversation interesting. That's what makes relationships interesting. It's what makes stories interesting. And so I think we have a long way to go to get to that place, but I think that is the end goal. And as we get there, I think creating space for different people, different cultures, should take priority. I'm happy to see Ahsoka Tano as a woman of color. I'm so happy that she's a woman of color. I'm so happy Ezra Bridger was cast as a man of color. Like we should be not inserting because we've always been here, but the shows that we watch in Star Wars included
in it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We should just exist because that's the world that we live in.
And it should be like like taking Miss Marvel. I have obviously I'm not Pakistani or I'm not Muslim, but I enjoyed it so much because I just love that somebody else gets to feel the same way I feel when I see my representation there, and just learning about something new. I learned so much from that show alone. And that's how it should be. Like, even though, obviously it's still a superhero show, but they inserted part of their culture and part of their history into the story, which is something, like I said, like we've been saying, that it would be cool if they could do something like that in Andor as well, and yeah, the end goal is just basically what we said, that it shouldn't shock us, or it shouldn't be like another Latino. Is just, oh cool, who they're gonna, which is it gonna be my favorite actor, is it gonna be somebody that I like, instead of just saying, oh, is it Latino, period.
Yeah.
And it's just sad because we're excited, we know what it is. It's, people here in this chat, all of us talking and stuff, but there's still so much internalized misogyny, internalized racism within the Latino community. I've seen people, Latinos, just with the, again, and it sucks that we have to keep bringing up the Little Mermaid, but I've seen Latinos being mad that they recast Ariel as a black woman. That, oh no, why why are they changing her? The one that I love is the little white girl, and I'm like, but why is that an issue? Why are you making such a problem of this when you know what representation means for everybody? You being yourself Latino, But again, it's just like the internalized racism, that many Latinos do have.
And we have to hold our community accountable, So when we see that bullshit, we call it out.
And to add something is, I also want to say, just because a property was created in a time period where people of color and women were excluded from the conversation, doesn't mean that we continue to exclude them because you used to. That doesn't make any sense. So that's how that's my story.
They try to use the same logic that, of course, they always bring Black Panther up or Moana up, or like, oh, what if you change them? Okay, well, then you're not understanding their stories. Then you're not understanding that their race and their culture is part of the story. So you can't change that. Like, it would make no sense. And then they try to bring up with Ariel talking about, oh yeah, she's Dutch because the writer was Dutch. Nowhere in the story does it say that this is in Denmark. Nowhere. She's from the ocean. That's it. That's all we know.
And if
that's
all we
know.
Yeah, right.
Nowhere did it say that
actual story. Yeah, if they went with the actual story and the violence and everything that.
I just found out the actual story, and it's like,
it's not what we grew up on. So like, if you really want like this story that you're like dying for, then let's give you that story so you can see that it's like violent. And
I mean, we do have a horror mermaid movie, don't we? Isn't there a movie out there?
There's a musical called Once on This Island where the Ariel character is a black, it should be cast as a black woman, and things don't end well for Timoon at the end, because it follows the actual lore. So if they really want to get mad, they can see a woman of color play out the actual thing that happens to Ariel, because it's quite tragic. So go listen to Once on This Island.
I mean, let's be honest. There's almost no stories that Disney has adapted that are actually kid friendly.
Beauty and the Beast, it's all bad. Cinderella,
Sleeping Beauty. I mean,
Beauty. Oh, Sleeping Beauty. Yeah,
Sleeping Beauty had 2 kids before she woke up. I find that to be problematic personally. That's
no, because that is including people who want to be included, I guess. But whatever. Like, people.
And then when they try to science the reason why people of color can exist, like, but Ariel is down in the ocean when there's no sun, and so how is she gonna be colored? I'm like, dude. Yeah, because people with fins have fish bodies exist, so that's scientific though.
My favorite response to that was like, yeah, remember when the seagull convinced her to comb her hair with a fork? Like this ain't a documentary. But
I saw,
that logic is actually a good argument for why Superman should be black. But that's a whole.
I saw a tweet. Someone's argument to that was, "You're right. Can we also like protest that Melissa McCarthy should not be a purple cast for a purple sea witch or something like that? She doesn't represent all purple people or
All
something."
purple
It was,
people.
and I mean, they're not talking about that.
Purple lives matter, man. So speaking of, we have basically 3 Latino led projects coming up with Andor. It's popping off next week. Ahsoka and Mando season 3. Which one's got you the most excited and why?
I don't know. I'm like Ahsoka. No, I mean,
Listen, I had said Ahsoka because I love Ahsoka and I want that story of her, but now but this was before we knew much of what Andor was gonna entail and stuff. I mean, we just know Andor was gonna be a story of the rebellion, but now once we started getting more details, once they started dropping the teaser trailers and stuff, that I'm excited for that because I need this political intrigue. I need this. I need this espionage story, and
Yes. Love it.
Oh my god, it's gonna be like a thriller, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And what are they gonna do to him? And what is he gonna do? It's gonna keep us on our toes, and I love that. It's not just a fantastical story, Star Wars story. There's actual like crazy stuff that's gonna happen. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
I'm excited for Andor. I'm excited for Andor because, just like you said, it's centered around a lot of stuff that we don't know, and that's like the intrigue for me. There's not a Force user. It's just about this. Let's find out week to week what's going to happen. Whereas, like, in Kenobi, like you can't, that there was an end to it, but like you only got to see the middle. This we don't really know anything about. I'd say like the only reason I might be a little bit more excited for Ahsoka is because I cannot wait to see Ezra and Thrawn. Like
can't wait for Thrawn.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
It looks like Danielle is excited for Palpatine.
I was gonna say that, Choco. She wants to see Palpatine.
For Palps.
Not yet, Danielle. Not yet.
I'm definitely most excited for Andor. I think Cassian Andor is my favorite Star Wars character. Even before I was like super into Star Wars, I always felt connected to him. But I'm also so intrigued of the time period between the prequels and the original trilogy. I just finished reading Catalyst, which just got my mind just like all the popcorn and the light bulbs were going off, and I'm just like, how are these things connecting? How do we get from point A to point B? So I'm really excited for that. And the tone is going to be so different compared to other Star Wars projects. And I think it'll be a really like exciting and refreshing thing for Star Wars. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love him so much. But you're right. Like, we kind of knew his story. We kind of knew what was going to happen. But with Andor, it's kind of like, well, we know how his life ends, but that's really it. So what? R.I.P. to Cass.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm most excited for that.
Yeah, and we have Israel still hanging out in the chat. Andor by far, really digging the grassroots of the rebellion, seeing the struggle, watching the Iron Fist of the Empire begin to squeeze the galaxy. People's reaction to it, and how these planets are slowly being stripped of their resources. Like if you read Catalyst, you see how dirty the Empire is.
They're filthy.
The rebellion. Under the Republic, there was planets that were like off limits, right? These are they're protected. So the Empire would have people smuggle in weapons, would bust those people, and say, "Oh, they broke the law. So now we own the planet," and then they would strip mine it. And like it's
I mean, and we got to see that in Rebels. Like when
in Rebels when they revisit Geonosis.
Oh
that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
harsh.
That
That
was
was
rough.
so harsh.
Yeah. So I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be amazing as well.
Mhm. I
Um,
wanted to bring up a point that Danielle mentioned about Ezra, the actor that's playing it. He's Iranian Ecuadorian, so we have another Latino in the house
Mhm.
too.
If you don't know, my family's from Ecuador, so I'm super happy.
Yes. As soon as I saw that, I went to Taco. I was like, Taco, he's half Ecuadorian.
I was like, hold on. I had to look it up too. Did you know that the guy who played Aladdin was supposed to be it? I guess, and he just recently tweeted out saying like, obviously, the guy looks exactly like Ezra. I'm very happy for him. Like he said, like the rumors were that he was going to do it, but I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this guy looks exactly like
Yeah,
Ezra.
Like, oh yeah.
he looks just like him.
Are they going to give him like blue contacts and dye his hair blue?
Probably. I'm pretty sure. All right, I need that to happen though. He has to have that because that was like one of the most striking things about Ezra was his eye.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. This has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and having this conversation. I learned a lot. I also heard a lot of Spanish words, and I didn't know what was being said, which is okay. It happens in my household a lot. Sometimes it's beneficial. Sometimes I'm better off not knowing. Daniel says, as long as they change Jason, please. Listen, if a human and a Twi'lek have kids, they have green hair. Apparently, I don't know how that works. I'm not a geneticist. It feels wrong.
Feels wrong.
Yeah, I think we need a better person that. I wonder if they did hire people that are experts in cross
Cross
thingy,
species
cross
reproduction.
species and stuff.
Yeah. Look, if they can change Ahsoka's tube top, they can change Jason Syndulla.
Of course. Absolutely.
So you also agree it was weird to send a 14-year-old girl in the tube top out to war?
What were they thinking?
No armor.
What a choice.
Anakin
like no
had
armor.
Obi had armor.
Obi
but
had
this
it.
girl over here, just hey, we're going on
Skimpy little
vacation.
tube
It's a
top.
vacation.
Yeah.
I know. You're good. Here's a lightsaber. Have fun, kid.
Anakin was a great dad.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to see that in Tales of the Jedi actually, and like that scene where he's just like again. I mean, he's putting her through that Batman training, like
yeah.
We've all seen the.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was saying we've all seen the edit. Like that's the move that she does in season 7 of Clone Wars during Order 66. Dave Filoni just knows how to break hearts.
Yes, he trained her to be able to fight Order 66. I was like, oh, why are you hurting me?
Exactly.
Too much.
So, all right. Well then, so what I'll do is I'll kind of wrap things up. So if you guys can let me know, if there's anything we haven't covered, anything that you wish, more people understood, any closing thoughts, and then let us know where we can find you and your awesome content. And I will start with Olivia.
I think one thing, just based off, I'm speaking from the eye, but also from conversations I've had with other people in my community. I think we're all really excited for Andor for reasons that might be hard to explain to someone who isn't part of our community, our collective community of different Latin American countries. And so I think make space for us, have us on your podcast, support our content, because I think there will be a lot of nuances. I hope there will be a lot of nuances that we'll be able to pick up on and we'll be able to discuss that will enrich the entire experience of watching Andor. And I think it'll be a celebration, like tomorrow is the start of Hispanic Heritage Month in the United States. So it's a perfect time to support Andor and and support your Latinx content creators. And speaking of that, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram. I mostly post on TikTok. Olivia Lupe Marie is my username. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it definitely will not be the last time. I am during the duration of Andor. I want to kind of cover the episodes because it's going to be dropping at midnight, and the only stipulation is you will have had to have watched the episode. But yeah, if you guys are interested in coming back on, please let me know, and I will go
Oh,
ahead
definitely.
and jot you down. But yeah, how about you, Jeff?
Um, I mean, I guess more of the same, you know. Um, it's kind of like Olivia said, like we're here. We've always been here. You know, we're not just like, and Olivia said this as well. We're not just a token. You know, we're like a people. We are very, very culturist people, and we are very, very diverse. You know, not it's not a one size fits all model. Like there are words that Kari says that I wouldn't understand. There are words that Olivia says that I wouldn't understand, and but it doesn't make us, you know, like it doesn't make us any different, but it does, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was something that I thought of that I was like, oh, this would be a perfect thing to say, but now I don't remember what it is. That's what it was. But yeah, yeah, Hispanic Heritage Month starts tomorrow. And one thing that me personally, and I don't know how anybody else feels about it, if you have a question, just ask. Just ask, because it's better to ask and learn from a source than just like assume that you like know, you know. If you don't understand how something works, then just, you know, ask, because I'm more than happy to talk about that stuff. When people ask me a question, oh, is this what you do? No, that's not what I do, but I do know somebody that blah, 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 you know. And it's great to like just educate yourself on the things that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you see this perfect segue, if you want to know about Star Wars or anime, you can find me on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter. So yeah, I don't this thing right here, Otaku Jedi.
Definitely make sure I get those added into the show notes as well. I do want to throw a last minute lightning question that we'll end it on, and hopefully we can get participation in the chat as well, because there's a lot of awesome people out here. I'm curious, and also let me know if this is like, if I'm not wording this properly, but what is one activity from your heritage or from your people or family that you want to do with a Star Wars character? And what character? So we'll come back and we'll re-hit Olivia and Jeff, but we'll Kari and everyone in chat, throw out your answers.
All right. So basically, saying the same sentiment as Olivia and Jeff. I I want people to know that we are not a monolith. We are Latinos, but we are different in many ways as well. Um, and that's I would love to see those differences in these different shows. Like taken from different cultures, one time from Ecuador, one time from Argentina, one time from El Salvador, you know, because we've always mostly, because since Mexico is the most closest to the United States and stuff, most of the culture that is represented, has been represented when they do represent Latinos, is from there. And we have a lot in common with them, but we also don't. And I don't want it. And sometimes people take that and try to use that against us, you know. And I want people to be educated in this. That way, the only way that I think we're going to get rid of, continue, start to get rid of so much racism is just with this education. You know, trying to educate people on these different things so they can understand. Because sometimes people, they hate on things that they don't know.
Yeah.
And we've had to deal a lot with that. And I want us to be able to exist without people having to always have to question, why are we here? why is it that they have to appear, in these shows or in these movies and stuff. So I want I want that representation from everybody, so everybody can feel included. The same way that I feel with Encanto, because I saw my Colombian stuff there, and then I want the same everybody else to feel the same way about their culture and their countries and stuff. So and on that note, I want to play soccer with. I think I want to say with all the little younglings or the Padawans.
Oh,
Yeah, I want to
that's
take
really
all my
cute.
Padawans and hug them and protect them, and nothing happened to them. And we're playing soccer. That's what we're doing. And you guys can find me at Star Wars Tia on Twitter and TikTok.
Although I feel like a kid Padawan as a goalie would use the Force to defend, and it might not be fair. but it would be.
That would be interesting. Them playing soccer with using the Force, like girls.
It's like when the vampires in Twilight play baseball. It'll be.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have my buddy Isaac is here in the chat. He's Irish, and he wants to do is that Kyber toss, like when they have the big pole and you toss
it? Yeah. What?
With Wrecker
would crush that.
Let's see. I'm gonna make Pernil. I can't say it.
Pernil, arroz con frijoles negros y tostones for Bale and Brea.
And I want to salsa with
pork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would make chilaquiles with Cassian Andor, because Diego Luna did say that chilaquiles was Cassian's favorite food. So
he said that.
Yeah,
so
he did. Yeah, he said it in an interview.
Chilaquiles is canon. What?
I love it.
So it's canon in Star Wars, according to Diego Luna.
And also, I want to be a fly on the wall when Danielle is singing Selena songs with us.
Oh my god!
That would be awesome. I think for me it would be Noche Buena with the entire crew of Rebels.
Oh.
Noche and what is that for?
So Noche Buena, most people celebrate Christmas on Christmas Day on the 25th. Noche Buena, most all Hispanic people, well, not all, let me not assume, but most Hispanic people celebrate it on the 24th. We wait till basically you have dinner at between 8-9 o'clock. It's a ginormous party, and then at midnight you exchange gifts, Merry Christmas, everything like that. You go to sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you wake up next day at 10-11 o'clock and have all of the leftovers. It's amazing.
Even Noche Buena, kids are stay up the whole night partying with the adults.
Oh yeah. So can you imagine Noche Buena with the entire crew of Rebels?
Of Rebels? What?
That would be incredible.
That sounds wild.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan says Qui-Gon wearing a kilt. Star Wars Rebel mashup.
Yes.
I love it. Like Coquito.
Oh my god, Coquito and Gomparranda, which is go clubbing.
Yeah,
kind of clubbing with Bell and Americanas. What? Hell yeah!
And then
I feel like Bale and Brea would be so much fun to party with.
Oh yeah,
it'd be a blast.
Oh my god, Leia, quinceañera.
As much as both of us did.
She would hate it. Having to practice the dance and having that shit.
Mary, her family Sicilian. See traditional pasta and cannoli making and dancing.
So cool. I think Obi would enjoy that.
Yes.
Just, chilling, making cannolis.
Oh, and Filipinos celebrate it as well.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
This is that'll be wild. I need a short story. I absolutely need all of that. For me,
my god,
I do love. Believe it or not, I do love to dance, and so I let's see here.
Oh, London, we're going there.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, all kinds. But I got my start with salsa and bachata specifically. So I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna dance with Leia because we already know she can dance,
Yeah.
especially in Lost Stars, and
Leia likes to
again in
party, man.
the
She would
yeah,
be
yeah,
down.
absolutely.
She's out
So
there chilling. Oh, you know something I wanted to bring up that I forgot? Real quick, I'm sorry. Speaking of, Star Wars actually branching out and stuff, season 2 of Visions, we're gonna have like stories from Chile and all these not just
mhm.
Japan, but it's
From
gonna be from
Africa,
different
from
parts of
all
the
over the
world.
place.
So
Oh,
we're gonna
so
get to
cool.
see that influence of each of these different countries in Star Wars. I cannot wait for that.
It's gonna be
When does that
amazing.
come out? Is there a
I
release date
don't
yet?
No release date.
know.
Oh, but once I saw Chile, I was like, "Oh, let's go! We're gonna have a fucking Latin one."
But yeah, we are. It's a wonderful time to be a geek, to be a Star Wars fan. So much stuff is coming out. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out and hanging out, and I think in the chat with Mary and Nell,
That was
um,
so cool, man. Awesome.
Israel. We're gonna have you on again. I'm so sorry you were having audio issues. So sorry about that, but yeah, definitely do it again. Obi Sean, written in the Star Wars.
Buena
Star
holiday
Wars
spirit.
Noche
Let's
Buena
go.
holiday.
Party.
Isaac, Beings of the Galaxy, Camilla, Amber Medina, Saint Pat, Broad Street, Boba Fett, Naira. So many awesome people here. Nico, great conversation. I appreciate all of you guys. But yep,
Thank you for having us.
we will wrap it up for now. Thank you so much, and may the force be with you always.
Awesome, B. Thank you for having me.